They hate crypto, they hate XRP, and let me tell you, they want to shut it down. Mr. XRP, Brad Garlinghouse, was on the hot seat last night, and let me tell you, it got intense. And after watching yesterday's interview, we're gonna see 5,000 on XRP. Yesterday's 60 Minutes was very political, right? But what do we expect? Mainstream media, they don't like crypto for starters, and they were really trying to tear down XRP. And if it's one thing that I know about the government, it's always do as I say, not as I do. And why was John Reed on there? To tear down crypto. Because all he said was crypto's bad, you shouldn't invest in crypto, and if you're investing in crypto, you're pretty much dumb. But they never mentioned how XRP wasn't a security. They didn't really mention the benefits that it has for the people. But as we know, if it benefits the people, the government doesn't want you to get your hands on it. 60 Minutes did a lot of clipping yesterday, and it seemed like it was 5 minutes of Brad Garlinghouse.
What if I told you that XRP's next move could turn every $100 you have into $500,000? Yes, you heard that right. Because analysts playing it safe are completely blindsided by what's coming next. Imagine banks streaming trillions through the XRP ledger while prices skyrocket overnight, and you're the one cashing in big. Ever pause to wonder why a token once dismissed as a fringe experiment is now at the center of Wall Street whispers? Why are global banks that once steered clear of crypto now quietly routing serious volume through the XRP ledger? And why does talk of tokenizing real-world assets feel less like science fiction and more like next week's headlines? Today, we're diving deep into the forces propelling XRP toward what some insiders dare to predict could be a $5,000 price tag.
We do know that the European Union is working on a CBDC. We do know the UK government is working on a CBDC. Both Ripple have been working with both of those governments, right, for quite some time. So we'll have to see how all of that pans out. Here you go. XRP to $5,000 sounds impossible, but is it? Let me play this for you.
XRP at $5,000 per coin might sound impossible, but is it? The math says otherwise. Let's break it down.
In order to understand all of this, we need to hear straight from Ripple engineers pioneering multi-purpose tokens that could encode every detail of a $10,000 government bond, start date, duration, interest rates, directly on-chain. We also need to break down Max Avery's bold claim that market cap-focused analysts are missing the real story: massive institutional demand. Additionally, we need to unpack proof that private banking clients are buying in at ticket sizes 10 times higher than retail. And then you'll finally see why stablecoin volume on RLUSD has surged over 100% in weeks, and how derivatives giants are lining up to build on this new financial plumbing. By the end, you'll have one burning question answered. Is XRP really about to explode to $5,000? Analysts say it might just be possible.
First of all, with the incoming administration, I expect to see a legal framework for the crypto industry finally get put in place. As we'll probably have stablecoin regulations in place soon, now is really the perfect time for Ripple to be launching the RLUSD stablecoin. That move allows Ripple to offer a stablecoin on the XRPL and enhance the liquidity on the network without having to rely on other sources like Circle and Tether.
Imagine being at Ripple's R&D lab, where engineers are sketching out the blueprint for the next era of finance. They call them multi-purpose tokens. Unlike legacy tokens that only store a balance, these next-gen assets let you attach rich metadata. Think a smart bond that carries its own terms, maturity date, and coupon rate on-chain. You could buy a slice of a treasury bond the same way you buy XRP today, and your token literally is the bond. No middlemen, no paperwork, no 24-hour settlement delays. This matters because institutional DeFi can't scale on chains that lack these building blocks. Banks need clarity, knowing exactly what they own and when they're paid. By giving them a token that's both smart and standardized, Ripple isn't just improving payments, it's creating the rails for trillions in real-world assets to flow on-chain. And XRP sits silently at the center, ready to power every microtransaction with near-instant finality.
I think if someone can't explain something in 60 seconds, they probably don't understand it. I'm David Schwartz, and this is Crypto in a Minute. Tokenization can improve efficiency by eliminating some of the problems with asset transfer and ownership. If you've ever bought a house, you know that it's very complicated to determine who owns a house. There's a lot of paperwork involved with the sale, recording the sale. There's a risk of fraud. in the delivery of the payment, and of course in being able to prove ownership of the asset. Tokenization can eliminate all those problems by using digital distributed ledgers to track the ownership of assets. That also simplifies things like if you want to borrow against an asset, use the asset for collateral, the person who's providing you the loan can more easily determine that you own the asset, and they can make sure that you aren't borrowing from a number of different lenders. Boom. Didn't even take a minute.
At a recent webinar, Max Avery, one of Ripple's lead market strategists, paused and said something striking. If global banks start running serious volume through the XRP ledger, market cap models go out the window. He pointed out that most analysts still peg XRP price targets by dividing an arbitrary market cap by circulating supply, ignoring that function drives demand. When trillions of dollars in settlement volume flood in, a cheap XRP simply won't work. Low-value tokens can't process massive throughput without lag or vulnerability to spam. Even David Schwartz, Ripple's CTO, has stressed that an undervalued token undermines the system's entire point. Avery's conclusion? Analysts are stuck in the old mindset. They're betting on headlines instead of how money actually moves in big institutions. It's a wake-up call. When real-world utility meets on-chain scale, price follows function, and XRP's function has never been more compelling.
Some of the banks that called crypto a scam are now building their entire future on it. But here's what a lot of people don't get. Ripple isn't trying to replace banks. They're giving banks a bridge between the old financial world and the new one, and that's genius. With what Ripple's provided, banks don't have to choose anymore. They don't have to risk everything on crypto or stick with outdated systems. They get the best of both worlds where security meets speed. Major banks worldwide are already switching over to Ripple's technology. Not because they love crypto, but because it's going to save them billions of dollars and make their customers happier. Utility-based digital assets are becoming the backbone of how your money moves. So the next time someone tells you that crypto's just a fad, remember that the smart money is already moving in, and if you're paying attention, you're going to be ahead of the curve.
Numbers don't lie. A recent study from the University of Lucerne revealed that the average Swiss private banking crypto ticket size jumped from around 1,000 CHF to 15,000 CHF within 6 months. These aren't nascent 20-somethings chasing memes. These are seasoned investors allocating serious capital. Ripple's own data confirms that private banking clients now represent a growing share of on-ledger volume, something their in-house analysts once dismissed outright. One Ripple exec laughed about overhearing a private banker say, "Our clients aren't interested in crypto," only to be proven dead wrong weeks later when institutional flows spiked. That shift matters because private banks move orders of magnitude more capital than retail. If they're convinced that XRP-powered tokenization is real and they're deploying millions to test it, the price implications are enormous.
Here's a little known fact. People look at the highs, right? The high, but look at the lows. The lows tell a much more interesting story, that every year over year, it's never gone down. The low has never gone down. So the low has gotten higher as the high has gotten higher.
Yeah.
So
the low of the COVID, 15, 17,000 was the high of the previous halving.
That's what I'm saying.
4 years prior.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if you look at the low, then that's a better indicator of the value of crypto, and it's clearly only increasing, you know? So it's like, you might, if you're gonna get involved in crypto, buy it now and hold it for 10 years.
Yeah, you just kind of like dollar cost average over time, or just wait till the lows, wait till this crazy, and usually you can just follow the halving schedule, and like when the halving happens for the next year or so, you know, it usually goes crazy high, and then it will come right back down, and then somewhere like around 2 years after the halving, it's like at its lowest point, and then the 2 years following, it's gonna come right back up again and go crazy.
Enter RLUSD, Ripple's experimental stablecoin that can live both on the XRP ledger and Ethereum. In the past month alone, RLUSD's trading volume soared 110%, hitting $37 million, while its market cap climbed to $294 million, before the full wave of institutional support. Why does that matter? Because RLUSD bridges two ecosystems, letting liquidity flow where it's cheapest and fastest. And XRP remains the gas token powering every transfer. Even more compelling, Aave's V3 integration now allows users to supply and borrow RLUSD across 17 blockchain networks, unlocking a decentralized lending pool capped at $50 million in deposits. For the first time, a Ripple native token is woven into the fabric of global DeFi. That cross-chain flexibility and scale is exactly what banks, hedge funds, and market makers crave, and it positions XRP as the indispensable backbone of a new financial infrastructure.
Is RLUSD to XRP as Tether is to Bitcoin? I don't think it's that tightly correlated. We haven't seen price appreciation for XRP every time they've minted RLUSD. They've minted quite a bit at this point. I think they have like over 200 million RLUSD. And we haven't seen the price of appreciation on XRP the same way that you would on Bitcoin if Tether prints $1 billion. I don't think it's quite exactly the same, but I think that the stablecoins issued on the EVM sidechain will increase the value of XRP because of the volume of transactions that'll need to be settled there, but not because they're buying XRP with the stablecoin, if that makes sense. It wouldn't be like Tether buying Bitcoin to back the Tether that they just printed with the Ponzi scheme that they started with.
Now consider Hidden Road, one of the top global clearinghouses that processes over $3 trillion annually, about $10 billion a day across 300 major institutions. They've run pilot programs using the XRP ledger to settle trades nearly instantaneously. In traditional markets, settlement can drag on for 24 hours, tying up liquidity and increasing risk. On Ledger, with XRP as the gas token and RLUSD for value settlement, transactions finalize in seconds. That efficiency isn't theoretical. In live tests, Hidden Road saw sub-second confirmations with fees near zero. Brad Garlinghouse himself remarked that this capability could redefine how institutional finance operates, saving billions in collateral costs. And if Hidden Road or similar firms ramp up production usage, streaming $10 billion daily could become just the opening act, ushering in trillions more as confidence grows.
With this acquisition, Ripple can really force everybody else to adopt XRP. Like, I don't think people understand that. So now they have a clearinghouse. They can do financing, they can do settlement, they can do margin release. There's a lot of things that they can do with Hidden Road they didn't have the ability to do before. And if they can provide settlement for financial transactions, Swift better watch out. I know it's on a global infrastructure, you know, they have RippleNet, they have a lot of partners, and they can facilitate that, but it only takes two counterparties starting to use XRP and beating the market significantly in their cost, and everybody else will adopt it very quickly. So this really kind of corners the market with this acquisition. This is really strategic by Ripple.
For retail and institutional traders alike, Apex.Exchange has emerged as a go-to DEX on the XRP ledger. Since 2017, they've facilitated over $62.7 billion in trading volume, nearly 90 million trades, and now offer both spot and futures for XRP. Their UI is slick. Fees hover at just 0.02% for makers and 0.05% for takers, and 24-hour volume regularly tops $355 million. To onboard users, Apex has been offering up to $30,000 in deposit bonuses, testament to how convinced they are of XRPL's potential. When you combine low-friction trading, institutional back-end integrations, and aggressive incentives, you get a network effect. Deeper liquidity attracts more users, which in turn drives volume and tightens spreads. In markets, liquidity begets liquidity, and for XRP, that loop could catapult price far beyond today's consensus.
Name of the Ripple stablecoin be RLUSD. I like to call it real USD, Ripple USD. We're very excited about this. I also will emphasize, as I've emphasized many times, we think this is very much complementary, additive to what the overall XRP ecosystem is doing.
Rapid growth invites scrutiny, and in April, developer Crypto Eerie flagged a malicious update to the XRPL.js NPM package that risked leaking private keys. She confirmed that wallets built on Ripple's in-house libraries, like Zaman, were unaffected but urged caution. Don't upgrade to the compromised versions. It's a reminder that as XRP's ecosystem scales, security hygiene must keep pace. If trillions of dollars depend on this ledger, every line of code and every dev tool needs rigorous review. Ripple Labs has since patched the vulnerability and beefed up auditing measures. For serious institutional players, that transparency and responsiveness to risk is exactly what they look for.
On April 21, a malicious code snippet was added to the XRPL.js library designed to steal users' private keys. This could have led to massive losses across the XRP network. Fortunately, the vulnerability was quickly discovered. Developers responded immediately and reported that only versions 4.2.1 to 4.2.4 are affected. They urged users not to update to these versions. Major XRP-based projects such as Zaman Wallet and XRP Scan confirmed that they remain secure and unaffected.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are racing to define stablecoin regulations. Two bills, the Senate's Genius Act and the House's Stable Act, are both slated for markup this summer. If passed, they'll set uniform standards for issuers, reserve requirements, and consumer protections. Industry insiders warn that passing two separate frameworks would create chaos, so reconciliation is key. Many believe that if a unified bill lands on the president's desk by July, major banks and payment platforms will expedite launches, plugging into existing blockchain rails. Ripple, with its RLUSD and on-ledger stablecoin capabilities, stands poised to capture a lion's share of that institutional inflow. A clear, forward-looking regulatory regime could unlock the floodgates for banks to offer digital dollar products on the XRP ledger, driving utility and, inevitably, price.
So there was a bill specifically related to stablecoins, which was called the Genius Act, if I remember it correctly. This is essentially a regulation that recognizes stablecoins as payment currencies, and it categorizes them into either ones that are regulated by state regulators or by federal regulators. And the whole point of this is to essentially create supervision over the sector, if you may, while also allowing banks potentially to start issuing their own stablecoins and allowing enterprises to start issuing their stablecoins.
Out in emerging markets, XRP is quietly gaining traction for cross-border remittances. Companies in Southeast Asia and Africa are piloting low-fee transfers that settle in seconds instead of days. In the Philippines, one provider reported remittance costs dropping from 6% to under 1% using the XRP ledger. That's real money staying in families' pockets every month. And as central banks explore digital currencies, several have eyed the XRPL as a test bed. The Bank of Thailand ran a wholesale CBDC simulation on the ledger, demonstrating near-instant settlement between financial institutions. If central banks adopt or integrate XRPL components, they'll bring enormous legitimacy and another tidal wave of volume to the network.
XRP is now the second most widely held crypto among users on a very prominent Korean exchange called BitThumb, only behind Bitcoin. There's 1.45 million BitThumb users holding Bitcoin. Meanwhile, XRP, very, very close. 1.38 million holders from BitThumb alone. That's how big XRP is in South Korea.
Meanwhile, Ripple's upcoming Liquidity Hub promises to transform intercurrency conversions for institutions. By pooling on-demand liquidity across multiple markets, it will let banks tap XRP for real-time settlement in dozens of fiat pairs. Imagine sending euros from Frankfurt and receiving yen in Tokyo with XRP as the bridge, all in seconds, and at a fraction of current costs. Early trials have shown transaction fees as low as 0.0001 XRP, a negligible expense compared to traditional Forex spreads. As Liquidity Hub rolls out, it could become the connective tissue for global treasury operations, further cementing XRP's role as the indispensable gas token of modern finance.
Integrating digital asset solutions is complex. It often requires cumbersome integrations, has high costs, and involves engaging with fragmented, slow, and costly fiat payout landscape. At Ripple, we built Liquidity Hub to seamlessly bridge the new world of digital assets with the traditional world of fiat. The experience is a plug and play, encompassing a single API connection into a breadth of liquidity pools. It offers optimized pricing via smart order routing, and through Ripple's suite of products, best-in-class last-mile fiat payouts into global jurisdictions will be available. Liquidity Hub powers interoperability between crypto and fiat systems, bridging digital assets seamlessly. Partner with Ripple for your crypto liquidity needs today.
And there's another piece of the puzzle often overlooked: XRP's escrow mechanism. Ripple locked 55 billion XRP in escrow at launch, with only 1 billion released per month, and any unused tokens returned to escrow. That predictable, deflationary supply schedule contrasts sharply with the unlimited printing of fiat currencies. As demand spikes, driven by all these new use cases, a shrinking free float amplifies price movements. Every institution tapping into XRPL's rails competes for a fixed supply, creating a scarcity narrative ripe for explosive appreciation.
A lot of people don't understand the circulating supply of XRP because they look at how much is being locked up in an escrow account. And why is it being held in escrow? Well, the company Ripple, which is a fintech company that utilizes the digital asset XRP, has to escrow enormous amounts of XRP so that their ODL or on-demand liquidity clients have enough XRP to be able to facilitate transactions to move money around the world in under 5 seconds for a fraction of a penny.
So is XRP truly on the brink of a $5,000 explosion? We've walked through every cornerstone. Every thread weaves back to one central theme: when actual utility, institutional demand, and on-chain scale converge, price doesn't just move, it skyrockets. Analysts who cling to old formulas are missing the tectonic shifts under the surface. The real driver isn't hype, it's function. And with Ripple's technology stack and growing institutional embrace, the foundation is laid for a seismic price leap. So as you weigh your own views, ask yourself, are you ready to ride this wave, or will you let another opportunity pass while analysts play it safe? Because when the next big influx hits, those who understood XRP's true role could be the ones cashing in most. And there you have it. Every piece of the puzzle pointing toward one seismic possibility. XRP's function could drive it straight to $5,000, leaving every old-school price model in the dust. So what do you think? Are analysts missing the next big explosion? Or is this the moment XRP redefines finance? If you're ready to stay on the cutting edge of the crypto revolution, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and join our community. Drop your predictions in the comments below. Let's ride this wave together.